Welcome to How to Trade It, the road to trading mastery. Join Casey Stubbs, a seasoned trader, as he guides you to become a profitable trader. Find actionable insights, real-life stories, and strategies to boost your trading skills. Don't miss the journey to trading victory. Start listening now. Connect with us at podcast@tradingstrategyguides.com. Trading profits are just an episode away.
It's Casey Stubbs. Welcome to Replace Your Income with Options, the podcast that helps you reclaim your freedom, replace your paycheck, and get on with your life to live the life that you want to live. Now, I'm going to do a case study today, a roadmap, a plan. I'm going to put it in your hands that anyone can do. You just have to decide and begin to take action. So I'm going to give you several steps. I'm going to give you action items, and I'm going to share my story so that I can help you. And remember, during the course of this podcast, I'm going to be highlighting stories from people who I've helped to replace their income with options. And so if you have decided, if you hear that and you're like, I would like to be that person, I would like to be featured on this show, well, start paying attention and start taking action and do some of the things that you're going to learn. All righty. Now, the first thing we want to do is understand how much we need to make. We have to have a target. You're never going to hit your target unless you have something to aim for. And so in this case study, we're going to say $1,000 a week, which is $4,000 a month. That's a baseline revenue average for people in the United States. Some people might need a little bit less. Some people might need more, but it doesn't really matter because you can adjust this plan to fit your number. And so that is step number one, which is make a plan. Step number one is make a plan and figure out your target. Okay, so go ahead, write that down right now, what you're going to do. So the next thing that we want to do is break it down into steps, small, actionable steps. And I always use the example of when I was hiking. I still hike, but when I'm on a hike, I go for a big target. I'm going to hike 72 miles. It's a long one. I've always got that in the back of my mind. I know how far I want to go for the whole hike. But then I'm looking at mile markers. Okay, let's just see how I do on this next mile. Okay, I'm going to go for 15 minutes. Let's make it happen. Boom. And then I do the mile, and then I'm like, okay, the next mile. So I'm always looking down right in front of me, and then I'm looking up for the long-term vision. It's a combo of short and long-term. We break it down in steps. If you're just going for the big picture, you can get lost. If you're just going for the short picture, you can get lost. So you want to do both. All right. Now, while we're deciding what our targets is, the next part of this journey is we must decide how much we're going to start with and how much we're going to add to the account. So when I first started, I would add every paycheck. And I recommend that you do the same until you get to where you want to go. So whatever the number is you start with, whether you want it to be 50, whether you want it to be 100, whether you want to start with 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, it doesn't matter. Choose your starting amount and then also choose the amount that you want to add to it. Okay, because the more that you can add, the more that you can start with, the faster you can replace your income. And I have a roadmap that's available to everyone that's listening to this show so that you can plan. It's a planning checklist. It's going to help you plan your journey. And I'm going to include that in a link in the description. So go ahead and grab your roadmap. All right, now that we have the plan, we need to understand that we have to begin. We have to start. So we have to understand the strategy and how it works. And we want to focus on the key word, which I believe is one of my superpowers. So this is part 2, by the way. So step 1 was make your plan. Those few key points. Part 2 is starting out. So for this example, let's just assume that we're going to start with $1,000 and we're going to start small. So we're going to go for 1% a week on $1,000. That's not a lot of money, okay? But we're also going to begin to add to our account. And for this example, I'm going to add every week, and I'm going to add $100. Okay, so if we have $1,000 to start, we know that in order to do this, we have to do a strategy, and I'll be talking more about that as these episodes go along, so make sure you subscribe and you get to them. But the strategy that I'm going to start with, which is cash secured puts. And in order to do that, you need to have the money to buy the stocks. So we have to find some cheap stocks to start. And that can be very difficult. Why? Because cheap stocks are a lot of times bad stocks, but we got to find the good ones. So I'm thinking of something that I've used in the past, which is like Ford. Ford's had ups and downs, but it's always been pretty consistent. And right now it's trading for about $9.50. So you can buy 100 shares for $950. And so when you sell a put, you're collecting the premium on 100 shares of Ford, which you can afford with $950. There's other stocks out there. There's other ones that are above 10. And as your account grows, you're going to have access to more and more stocks, but you've got to choose the right stock and increase your buying power over time. And the more buying power you have, the more money you're going to make. But remember, we're just trying to be consistent. We're not going to be making a lot of money at first, but that's okay, because do not despise small beginnings. Celebrate them. As you begin this journey, you're going to become successful over time. So just a quick little reminder about how I did it. I was 19 years old and I didn't have a lot of money, and I started really small. I was only making $800 a month. And so how much is that? $800 a month is only $200 every week. And yet out of that, I would put most of my paycheck away. Now, I had some good circumstances because I was in the Army. They paid for my food. They paid for my housing. They paid for my rent. But the thing is, electric, I didn't buy extras. I didn't buy DVDs. I didn't buy food. I didn't buy any clothing. I put most of it away. Why? Because of the first thing is I had a vision for the future. You've got to have a vision for the future in order to do this. But it was a game changer for me to learn the consistency of putting money away. I didn't learn about making money with calls and puts until a long time. Like, I was just putting money away because I knew that was the right thing to do. I didn't know how to make income. That came much later. But without even making income, I grew that account to $30,000 in just 4 years. And had I been selling options on that, I don't know what it would have been, but it would have been a lot more. And I would have been able to replace my income a lot quicker. And so this has been a long-term learning experience. But remember, I learned this lesson, and now I'm teaching it to you, the listener of the show. And my mission is to see 100,000 people replace their income with options. And so I'm so excited to see you on this journey. I'm excited to see you replace your income. And I can't wait to hear your story, because we're going to be featuring it on this podcast and in my upcoming book, which has the same name, Replace Your Income with Options. So it's going to be some exciting stuff. All right. Now that we have begun and we got started, now we need to scale. It's a simple process. It's all about consistently doing what you need to do, showing up day in and day out, and repeating the process. So you continue to build up. And remember, if you don't have enough to buy 100 shares of Ford, you can just continue to invest every week until you do have enough. And you don't have to use Ford. You can, as we're doing this show, I'm going to give you great stock picks and ideas and other things. But remember, you want to just keep adding in. And you can even choose dividend stocks too, which is another compounding factor, right? Another compounding factor. But you just continue to do this. And the way that I do it now, how I get my paycheck every week, is I like to buy options every week, or not buy, I like to sell options every week and collect premium. So I get a paycheck every week, and I do that on Mondays. And I've got a great trade that I'm doing on this Monday that's coming out for my members. And so if you're interested in doing it along with us, you could sign up to one of our webinars and I'll show you how to get started. But the point is, I like to do this every week, and so I get a payday every week. And then what I do is I take that income and I reinvest it and I buy more shares. So then I'm selling one put, then I begin to sell two puts. So if you sell one put and maybe you collect $50, then you sell two puts and you collect $100. The cool thing about this that I just absolutely love is it's like having a job where you get a raise every single week. Imagine if you went to work and they start paying you $10 an hour. Next week you make 11, next week you make 12. No, it doesn't work like that. You get raises, but they're much slower. And so that's why we're able to replace our income. And it doesn't matter where you start because you're always getting a raise every week. And as I said, it's always important to pick the right stock, because if you pick a stock that goes down, that's probably the hardest part about this. If you pick a stock that goes down, you can still make money and you will still make money. But if you pick a stock that never goes up, that bounces down to zero, then you will lose, right? And so that option can happen. But guess what? We prepare for that too. But some of my worst trades have been my best trades. And I have posted some material on that, and I think I'm going to do a whole episode on it at some point. But I'll just tell you real quick. I invested in Coinbase, and it kept going down, down, down. I got in at like 300, and I just kept adding to it. And by the time it got down to $30, $35 a share, I had a very low cost, and I had a lot of shares. And then that thing bounced and skyrocketed, and it became my worst trade, but it became my best trade. And so I want you guys to understand that sometimes those trades that go down can become huge winners. They can become 10x. They can take your account from something really small to something really big quite fast. And so don't worry about it. If you follow a plan, you will replace your income. And you know what? That's what this podcast is here. We're here to help you. We're here to be there for you. All right. So now on to the next part. Once we scale and we slowly see our income growing every week, now we just hit the target. We just got to $1,000. And I don't know how long it'll take. It all depends on where you start, what you invest in, what your performance is. But I am going to say that for the most part, for the average, we're going to see freedom in 3 years. Can you be free in 3 years? I think that's a great plan. We can get to $1,000 a week in 3 years. If we want to get a little bit more, it will take some more time. But don't stop. Don't stop at 1,000. Keep growing your income. Maybe you want to take a little bit, or maybe you need to live off of 1,000, or you aren't quite ready to replace your job yet. Keep doing it. And then when you're making 2,000, then maybe you stop your job, live off of 1,000, and reinvest the other, because we want our account to always be growing, always multiplying, always compounding. Because if you stop the compounding, you stop your growth. You don't want to do that. All right. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this. If you have questions, let me know. I can be reached on X, Casey Stubbs, x.com/Casey Stubbs. I can be reached on Substack, CaseyStubbs.substack.com. And I also am including a link to my roadmap so that you can find your own plan. And we also have a program, a course where I teach exactly step by step how to do this. And I release the information on that course on a weekly webinar on how to sign up, how to become part of our community, and how you could be featured on this podcast, how you could be featured in my book. And I'm just so excited to meet you in the future. I know that you're listening and you're reading this information, you're taking it in, and you're like, I'm going to be on the show. So it hasn't happened yet, but I'm looking forward to meeting you soon. Thanks a lot, and I hope you really enjoyed the Replace Your Income with Options. It's a great show, and I'm so glad that you're here with me. Until next week.
Thanks for tuning in to another insightful episode of How to Trade It with Casey Stubbs. We hope you found today's discussion valuable and inspiring. Remember, the road to trading mastery is a continuous one, and your commitment to learning and growing as a trader is the key to your success. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please reach out to us at podcast@tradingstrategyguides.com. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep trading your way to victory. Until next time.